I love books. I recommend books over TV shows anytime, like The Grandfather from Princess Bride. I love reading books, looking at them on shelves, organizing them neatly, and cleaning them. My day job involves a lot of books. Books have become my life to a certain extent. But it didn't always. When I was a kid, most books were things you were required to read, and I hated that they were boring and stale and tried to trick you into learning boring and stale things. How could teachers do such a thing? I'm looking at you, Gatsby. Green light means go screw yourself. As such, I didn't get around to reading many books until I hit about college age, where required reading didn't feel like such a chore, and my hunger for entertaining literature could not be stopped. This means that I was significantly older than the intended age when reading children's novels. And when I noticed just how messed up things could get. If anything, the most horrific things happen in children's lit because you are not expecting it to go there. Some of this stuff rivals or exceeds YA fiction. I mean, it's not the Song of Ice and Fire levels of screwed up, but reading these as kids? It's amazing millennials didn't get emotional scars. This might explain a lot. So here it is, my top 5 disturbing moments from children's literature. Lest this list go on forever, here are the rules for a book to qualify. Also, I'm limiting it to only one event per franchise, or else this list would only be made up of 3 series. Other than that, anything goes. On a related note, this is a personal countdown list, so any books that I have not been exposed to or read will not be considered for this video. Your mileage may vary, etc., etc. Comment your most disturbing moment from children's literature in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell to stay notified, not just for leaflets, but for my other videos too. Also, consider checking out my Patreon. Lastly, here's your official heads up for spoilers for the following book series, in no particular order. Let's get started. Number 5. Dear C.S. Lewis, your work is acclaimed by many. I loved the Perelandra series, despite the collection being so verbose and thick it could kill someone if thrown at them, and I remember being especially convicted from reading the Screwtape Letters. And laughing. However, the first books of yours I read were the Chronicles of Narnia. I enjoyed reading all the books and watching the movies. Okay, I enjoyed The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And they skipped The Horse and His Boy. Why? It's my favorite! Anyway, the final book in the series, appropriately titled The Last Battle, is a giant allegory of the biblical end of the world, complete with a huge war and an antichrist that is literally an ass in a lion's skin. When the last chapter is reached, Narnia is destroyed, and Aslan, Lion Jesus, creates New Britain, where all our main characters from the series are reunited. Sans one, but I'll get to that. It's here we're given the biggest shock from our omnipotent lion. Yup! All of the Earth characters who were friends of Narnia died. It's revealed that Peter, Edmund, Lucy, Eustace, Jill, Polly, Professor Diggory, and the Pevensy's parents, for some reason, all died in a horrific train wreck, and joined the ranks of the loyal Narnians in the new lands. I mean, jeez, Clive, what the hell? And don't even get me started on Susan not being there. For those who didn't read the books, after all their adventures with Aslan and company, Susan completely denounces Narnia and thinks she and her siblings made everything up out of boredom. Now that forced movie romance between her and Prince Caspian is awkward in several ways. Number 4. Frank's Death from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. What the heck, Jen? Not Dementors, Sirius's death, the battle for Hogwarts? I know. There are plenty of moments you'd probably rate higher than the death of a Muggle groundskeeper background character. Let me explain. Remember, I didn't like reading that much as a kid, so I never got to read Harry Potter and the Magic Person's Stone until years after it was first published in the US. But J.K. Rowling's fantasy series was crucial to cementing my love of literature as I know it today. Eleanor! Tell that Miss Steele that she just can't come out of nowhere and steal your mans. Show her what the Dashwoods are made of and break her freaking kneecaps. I get a bit intense. I consider this delay in reading Harry Potter as being an actual good thing in the long run, as I started reading it closer to the age when Harry started school at Hogwarts, and as such, I sort of got to grow up with him with every new book published. This in turn works best for the series as a whole, since J.K. Rowling planned for the story to gradually get darker. Literally in the case of the movies. Hey-o! But I could really feel the change in tone in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Like accidentally stepping into the deep end of a pool. You see, I read the first 3 books with my mom before bed, but I decided to be a little stinker with the 4th book and secretly read ahead. So I read the first chapter, which naturally had the first on-screen permadeath, formally introducing the Avada Kedavra spell to its readers. And 11-year-old me couldn't handle that. I dropped that book and wouldn't try reading it again. Then that summer rolled around and my Potterhead friends told me not to be such a frickin' pansy and just read the best book in the series already. Gosh. So peer pressure got me back into reading Harry Potter again. This might explain why my older self resists getting book recommendations. Number 3. The American Library Association reports that Lois Lowry's The Giver, recipient of the Newbery Award and the William Allen White Children's Book Award, is number 11 of the 25 most banned or challenged books of the last decade. This is probably due to many factors, including, but not limited to, a dystopian government requiring mandatory daily drugs which suppresses sex drives, genetically engineering the sameness to its people to the point where the majority can't even see color, and the obligatory euthanization of both unwanted weak infants and the elderly, all while lying about the process to the colony with a smile. Yeehaw! Controversy! As such, many public schools don't allow their students to read The Giver. As for me, I attended a private Christian school, so I had the opportunity to read this gem of a book, as it was required reading for 6th graders. Main character Jonas is the new receiver of memory, forced to remember all the good and bad memories of the entire world pre-apocalypse, so everyone else can live in bliss. We read in graphic detail as Jonas experiences sledding, rainbows, painful compound leg fractures, mournful poached elephants, all the way to dying firsthand as a soldier crying out for his mother in the aftermath of a bloody cavalry battle. Boy had PTSD. No joke. As horrifying as all those were, what really kicked most of my class in the gut was the ending. The climax starts when Jonas runs away, unaided by anyone outside the walls. Oh my gosh, I hate that movie adaptation. Carrying and caring for a toddler named Gabriel, all while trying to reach a far enough point on the continent where all the memories he received over the last year are released to the community. In the last chapter, it's snowing and freezing, he can't feel his feet, and feels death is on its way. Suddenly, he comes across the very same sled from his first received memory. He then proceeds to continue like he would in the memory and slide downhill until he reaches civilization, where everything looks like Christmas and they're singing from a far-off land, ringing in his ear. And the book ends. Naturally, the classroom's ending discussion erupted into a tug-of-war between, that's it, Jonas and Gabe are dead, I'm 110% done, and, what are you talking about? He totally survived! Keep this in mind, this was back before we knew The Giver was a series, and even then, only Gathering Blue, arguably the best book in the entire quartet, just saying, was published at this time. So we never officially found out what happened to Jonas for a while. It is eventually revealed that Jonas and Gabriel did in fact survive, and years later, Jonas wound up marrying someone who wasn't Fiona. Yeah, fangirls, that film lied to you. Your ship is a lie. That adaptation was the worst. What was with Asher becoming a pilot and the food tray slide of friendship? Number 2. Tigerstar's Death from Warriors, The Darkest Hour by Aaron Hunter. With sickness, forces of nature, and other animals like adders and hawks that are fighting for their own survival, death by the claws of another cat is not the most common death in the Warriors franchise. And by that I mean at the very least that murder is not a common way to die in the series. Badger Fang, pobrecito. Arguably the most well-known villain from the Warrior Cat's clans is Tiger Claw, later known as Tigerstar. He gains control over Shadow Clan after being banished from his home in ThunderClan for the attempted murder of his clan leader and other such crimes. He has an impressive kill streak over the span of 1 year, from ThunderClan's deputy Redtail, a senile elder from RiverClan named Greypool, and the cold-blooded slaughtering of the gentle Queen Brindleface, using her as bait to trail a pack of dogs back to his previous clan. Nice. However, Tigerstar's terror over his near 6-year career as a warrior finally came back to get him in the form of an alliance with a tinier, deadlier foe, the leader of Blood Clan, Scourge. Scourge? Who bloody cares? It's a fictional cat who shows up out of nowhere at the end of the last book in the story arc. Tigerstar highly underestimates Scourge. Once Tigerstar's treachery is revealed to all the clans, Tigerstar attempts to command Blood Clan to battle. Scourge takes offense to this, Tigerstar tries to attack the much smaller cat, and Scourge sees the only way to solve things vengeance-wise is to kill the tabby Tom where he stands. He easily slices Tigerstar from chin to tail, using his claws that are reinforced with sharpened dog teeth. According to Victoria Holmes, one of the many writers under Aaron Hunter's pseudonym, when Scourge sliced his claws through Tigerstar, he struck 9 major organs, each one enough to kill Tigerstar on its own. So he bled to death from his veins, his lungs that were punctured, his heart was ripped open, his liver was damaged, etc. Poor, poor Tigerstar. What the hell, Vicky? Tigerstar painfully and gruesomely loses every single one of his 9 lives and dies. In front of his children, too. Brutality. And to think, the more recent series gets so much darker. That's what you get, HarperCollins. Advertising warriors for chillins. After showing the strength of this twistedly powerful character, Tigerstar's death was a jaw-dropper for the fans of the first series, and reason enough to award it number 2 on this list.
Your friend here thought he could control us. He was wrong.
Before naming the number one spot on this countdown, I want to list some honorable mentions. The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen, due to what is essentially torture, attempted murder, and the mermaid eventually demonetizing herself. Disney even referenced the original version of the mermaid's death with Ariel's name. That is so dark. The Egypt Game by Zilpha Keatley Snyder, for the paragraphs explaining the embalming of a parakeet, and the side plot of a psychopath murdering children in Berkeley, in the California East Bay, where I happen to reside. I read this for school too, just why? An incredibly personal mention goes to the ending of The Author's Blood, from the Wormling series by Jerry B. Jenkins and Chris Fabry. Mr. Jenkins, I know that you are an author for the Left Behind series, and that you do love your symbolic meanings, but I cannot suspend my disbelief for this ending, because... the merging. Did you just have a boy marry a dog? Last but not least, we have the Dragons in Our Midst series by Brian Davis. Now, I happen to love this series, but parents, just a heads up, know that by letting your middle schooler read this series, not only will you have to listen to your child defend dragon-human offspring and the shipping of many May-December romances, you will have to be prepared to discuss several serious subjects, including apocryphal texts, child abuse, crappy foster homes, adult entertainment, and abortion. Yikes. And now the number one most disturbing moment from children's literature. I think most people, myself included, enjoy books with animal protagonists because you get to explore darker themes, face oppressive physical and supernatural foes, all while still having that disconnect between fiction and the real world for it to be impactful but not necessarily traumatizing. There's passionate Snowball from Animal Farm, leading the farm until he's overthrown by totalitarian communist pig Napoleon. Matthias from Redwall, who fights the wrathful devil of a serpent Asmodeus in order to retrieve the sword of Martin the Warrior. And then there are the stags from Hearn's herd, from the Firebringer, who kill male fawns by crushing their skulls to honor their god, all while being high on shrooms. I swear I did not make that last one up. Yes, David Clement Davies' Firebringer has a couple of screwed up moments like that in it, and many, many more named character deaths. But there is one that beats tripped out child sacrifice cults. Meet Score. He is a red deer who is missing one eye and is antlerless. He grows fangs instead. He worms his way into a seat of authority in one herd, later becoming leader due to the previous lead stag having an accident. Score went on to become evil incarnate. Due to his cunning and intelligence, this stag creates a mutilated elite guard, taught from an early age to be loyal to him. He attempts to bring all of the deer herds under his command, outlawing their traditions and seeking to eradicate the worship of the god Hearn from the land. But why is that? Why does he wish to see the deer god forgotten and discredited, and destroy the law of nature? It might because Score was part of the previously mentioned Hearn's herd, and was later banished by the herd because of something he did. Something dark. Something so evil that the fawn-slaughtering cult thought him a monster. And it's in the final chapters where the deed is finally revealed. Before our book began, Score traveled through the wilderness, until he came across a human family living on an island. He waited patiently and entered their home. There, he found a human child, a mere toddler, alone. Score proceeded to kidnap and kill the child, rip its body open, and eat its still beating heart. I guess you could get away with a lot in the 90s. A deer murdered a child and ate his heart to gain man's power. No one tell King Louis from the Jungle Book. Something about an animal stereotypically known for being peaceful and gentle jumping straight into a violent, militant, cursed-looking dictator is very, very wrong. Perfect for the children. I remember when I first read Firebringer and learned of Score's secret, I was sickened. I was appalled. I was 23 years old, and I have still not gotten over it. Whenever I see that cover of that book on my shelf, all I can think of is that literal baby-eating deer. And I want a sequel. I don't care how long ago it was published. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now you know what goes through my head half the time. And if stuff like this is your jam, be sure to subscribe and remember to hit the bell icon, or else you won't see any updates of any kind from this channel and you'll forget I exist, and we can't have that in this time and day. We just can't. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!
Hey there. Consider becoming a patron, just like the phenomenal Bleed Red, Alexander Madeline, Uranium Coffee, and Ryan Nelson.